care of you. Take care of you. I wrote you on and on. You never gave me an answer. Am I the only one? I didn't know it was over. Take care of you. Take care of you.
Hello everybody. I hope you all are having a wonderful week. And today, thank you for joining me on my live stream, where we're going to be building a effective system to help you take control and have clarity over your stressors and ensure that you are not only being reactive to the things that are stressing you out, to all the problems that are in your life, but rather bringing them up, making sure that you have complete clarity over why you're stressing, what you can do about it, what are the actions you can take, and how satisfied are you by the outcome that you're going to eventually get towards if you can solve that problem. So without further ado, let's jump straight into why, what, and how behind today's stream. So let's switch over to that right now and let's talk a bit about that. So why are we building this? What is the goal that we're trying to get towards by building this system, by building this short and sweet system? Well, the first thing that we want to do is to be able to wake up in the morning and offload all our stressors out of our minds. So the biggest thing is that when we wake up, sometimes we have a lot of anxiety that just bothers us from the moment we wake up. We see that there's so many things for us that we have to do during the day, so many problems that we have to solve. And what I've realized is that a lot of those problems actually end up having very similar stressors that are behind them. Maybe we have 5 to 6 problems that we're thinking about that are, bothering us from the moment we wake up, that are making us anxious, making us unable to actually do any work because we are so caught up in the, minute by minute stress that we don't actually realize a lot of those problems can be kind of rolled up into a few major problems, a few major stressors rather, that if we just can resolve those, we can actually have a much better life and a much more stress-free environment for us to be the most effective that we can to solve the problems that we have in front of us. So what I want to talk about here is how can we wake up in the morning, offload all the stressors out of our minds, and be able to we want to have the clarity over what's really bothering us, okay? And plan out actionable steps to tackle them. So I've been building this for myself for the past week, because personally I started getting a lot of stressors, right? Sometimes, just throughout the day-to-day life that you're living, you can actually have a lot of stressors that come up. And I was very frustrated that it seemed like these stressors that came out and started bothering me, like they actually made me less efficient than I want to be, because I was actively avoiding the things I had to do. And it didn't make sense to me. I was like, well, if I spend all this time worried about something and not actually taking action on it, and then it gets pushed to the next day to be done, and the task gets pushed on and pushed on to the next week and eventually the next month, all I'm doing is just delaying the problem, and the problem is still there, and my overall productivity is actually very impacted because I'm not spending my time and my valuable attention on what's truly important. So this system has been very helpful, and it's very simple. The solution is actually very simple. It's very helpful for me and also my friends around me to be able to not have to worry about our stresses so much and actually find out what's really bothering us. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building a database that is going to allow us to write down our stressors and our problems rather, and be able to connect them to our overall stressors. And then we can categorize our and then we can plan the action items that we can do about them. Okay, so that's what we're going to build. And then how we're going to build that is to have a view for this database in our daily quest, so that when we are going through our morning routine, this can be part of the process for us to have a morning that brings us clarity and motivation to start the day. Okay, so that's what we're going to build. And again, like I mentioned, I want to have this specific live stream to show you how just a very simple idea, hey, I feel stressed, how can I not feel so stressed right now, can actually help you already start build a system to help you manage that process. So very cool stuff. Let's get started. So I'm just going to build it in this page to start, but eventually I'm going to migrate this into our system, and I might also make a free version for people to just copy if they like it. But basically, if I go and make a page here, and let's call this stress management, we can have essentially a database here. So let's call this database, let's call it stress management, or stressors, or problems. And then we can make a table like this. And let's go back to stress management, and let's turn this table into an inline table because I want to see them all. And then we're also going to have a table called, let's call this one underlying stressors. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you here is I want to give you a way to start writing down all your problems already. And there's going to be a few things that you want to write down. So let's do problem. Okay, we're going to give ourselves some details about the problem so we can put some more details into here. We're also going to put the severity of the problem, how severe is this problem to us that we feel that it's that is a problem right now, and we can make this high. There's also going to be a medium, and there's also going to be a low, and you might also have semi-low, semi-high, up to you later on, but for now let's just stick with these. So medium and then high would be red. And then what we can also have is possible solutions. Okay, so let me talk about a few of my examples that were stressing me out about certain content within COEX 3, and maybe you can start applying your own ideas onto this as well. So I had one problem, which was we have our we have let's say we have YouTube video descriptions that are outdated. Okay, that was something that I felt quite stressed about, and the details about this was that, you know, we have descriptions from our oldest videos that have links that don't work anymore. So that was a very high severity for me. I felt very strongly about this. And let me also connect these two databases as well in a second. Let me just write at least 3 items here that was stressing me out. So another thing was that, you know, the templates shown, the template walkthrough shown inside our videos are starting to get outdated as we improve the onboarding process. So let me put that in the details. So as we improve the onboarding process, the look and feel of the system can drastically change between a few months ago and now. That was another stressor of mine, and I felt very strongly about this. Let's just do one more. One more could be, let's see, let's say that okay, so let's say that we we have a fear of creating content because we are not sure when we will need to update that content again. So the example would be for template walkthroughs, template showcases, etc., or even academy pages, etc., etc. So these were all stressors that, you know, I had a problem with, and I can arguably say that they were all high, but let's just, for example, say one was medium as well. But basically I wrote down all my problems, right? I tried to sort it by severity, and again, you can add a sort here if you like, because a sort will always help you prioritize already at this point. But what I wanted to show you guys was that what was my process to make it crystal clear for me, what can I do about this problem? And actually, what is the underlying stressor that's really bothering me? Because the problem isn't the thing that is bothering me. The problem is simply the manifestation of the stressor. It's the very on the ground execution level thing that I can solve. But there's always an underlying stressor that's actually the big dragon looming behind all these little problems that are being thrown at us. And actually, I had a really interesting analogy that I you know, one of my friends and I came up with, which was, if you think about, you know, the underlying stressors as the big boss, the big dragon that we have to slay, these problems are more like the little mobs, the little, you know, mob creatures, the mob monsters that are low level, but they surround the boss and they bother you, they disrupt you when you're trying to cast a spell. If we're going with the game analogy, they're the ones that come at you and disrupt your ability to tackle the stressor at hand. So anything that's going to be helpful for you to uncover what is the actual dragon is going to be so helpful for you in clearing out these mobs, clearing out these, you know, problems that are you know, blocking us from being able to actually solve the problem ahead and going deep into the solution. So what I want to do is I want to create a relation. And if you're not familiar with what a relation is, essentially a relation helps you connect two databases, which helps you essentially connect data that may not be connected before. In this case, I want to connect my problems with underlying stressors. So let's go. Underlying stressors. We're going to go into there, we're going to create that relation, and then we're going to say underlying stressor, and then we can say this is problem, And then what we can do here is start writing down the underlying stressor, why this matters to me, why is this problem really a problem for me, right? So the first one, which was that we have outdated YouTube descriptions, actually that's the problem, is because the underlying stressor is that I feel like it's tough to update information. That is a big stressor for me, right? I feel like it's tough to update information, especially that we have to go on and keep going back and keep updating information as we go on. I think this is also similar. The second one is also the same underlying stressor. It's tough to update information. That's something that is recurring for me, right? I'm like, okay, so there seems to be two things that are triggering for me now for this specific thing. And then the last thing is, this one is also, it's tough to update information, but I also want to add on that, this makes it so that our community may have difficulty finding new information, etc. Right? So that one also becomes another underlying stressor. But what you need to identify for yourself is that, hey, which one actually has the most problems? So I'm going to go make a rollup property in this second database here, and I'm going to call it, let's call it counts, just make it simple for now. And we're going to go and say, okay, so out of all these problems, so let's go out of all these problems, okay, how many do we have? So we're going to count all, and we're going to see that there's 3 problems for tough to update information and only 1 for finding new information. So we're going to go in here and we're going to sort it, click sort by count, and then go by descending order. So then we can see, okay, this underlying stressor actually has 3 mobs, the 3 problems. Again, just sticking with the analogy, like 3 tiny little problems that seem big to us currently, right? Depending on the severity. So what we want to do is also have a rollup that shows the severity. So let's show that, it's the severity. We're going to click on this, and then we're going to show the severity, and we're going to show unique values. So I went a bit faster. Let me show that again. Basically, I'm creating another rollup property that shows me the severity of all the underlying problems that connect to these stressors. And of course, right now, I only have these 3 examples, but you can understand as you get more and more, as you add more and more problems, you can really start seeing what is the trend behind all your stressors that are bothering you in your day-to-day life. So let me explain this a bit more, okay? What we want to do now is start mapping out our possible solutions. And this is where it's going to get really fun, because we're going to get into the phase of trying to see if every single problem has their own unique solution. And knowing that we have a solution for something already offloads so much stress from your body, from your mental burdens, because you know that there's something that you can do about this monster in front of you. There's something you can do to defeat this monster and move on with your life. And the most important thing for you to be doing today is to be able to defeat these monsters so you can move forward and not have them just stay there and accumulate and accumulate and accumulate and eventually become giant monsters that you can never slay. So what I want to show you here is, again, I'm just going to use my own examples, but feel free to voice your own examples and, go ahead and add those in, because I think it's very important for you to determine, hey, how can I clarify and unveil from the fog, if you will, right? Reveal from the fog, reveal from the uncertainties what I can actually do about the situation I'm currently facing. Okay, so back to this. So for me, outdated YouTube videos, well, maybe I can okay, let's go here. Maybe I can get an intern or a virtual assistant. So this is delegating, right? So delegating to come in and work on the database, to work on, so this is actually just delegating, so to work on, let's say, determining what the best description format can be, and then also changing all the descriptions for each video in one go. So the possible solutions for this might be to delegate the work to someone else, right? Where they can spend the time to help me do the research on what the best description format can be, and also changing all the descriptions for the video in one go. Now, how do I feel about this solution? Does this solution solve my problem? Am I feeling good about the solution? So I'm going to add a new column, and we're going to say, how do I feel about this solution? Is this solution going to make me feel like the problem is resolved? And maybe, like this one, I would say is maybe, right? Okay, it's not fantastic, so I'll have a option for fantastic. It's definitely not good either, but it's okay, right? It's not the best solution. Maybe we'll come back to this and see what else we can do. But for now, we have that as an option. Okay, let's talk about the next thing. The template walkthroughs shown in our videos are starting to get outdated. That is a big problem. And actually, if I had to resort this, I'd say this is medium. This is the big problem that I'm currently really struggling against, right? This is the one that I'm like, okay, maybe this is something that I really need to tackle, and I really need to see how I can make this better. Okay, so right now, the biggest stressor, I think, is that, and we can put assumptions as well, actually. Let's put assumptions here. My assumption is that YouTube videos need to be evergreen, and it would be frustrating for users to watch a video and see that the interface is totally different from what it is today. So what I realized, though, when I was starting to think about solutions was, wait a second, my own viewing habits on YouTube is to watch the latest video, because I think the latest video usually has the most relevant content. So the first thing is that my assumptions are wrong. And most people understand that latest videos will show more accurate information, and YouTube content always have updated videos anyways, and their old videos simply link to the new one. I'm like, okay, so my assumptions were wrong. I can just make a new video and link it and perhaps explain the change. Another thing that I can do actually is try to focus less on the on how we and how a specific template works, because that can change in look and user experience, right? And instead focus more on educating the principles behind each template. So that's another interesting thought, right? I'm like, okay, well, instead of focusing on how a specific template works, because obviously that can change, right? If I change a filter, if I change the position of the columns, the whole thing can be totally different, and that can already be so confusing. But instead, if I focus on, hey, this is why it works, this is what we're trying to accomplish here, this is and then leave the how to, for example, the Academy pages, right? And then we can say, leave the explanation of the how to our Academy pages, or short 2 to 3 minute videos that we can easily replace if that section is updated at any time. So something that was really interesting for me was when I went through this process, I realized actually that I had a lot of videos that I was creating that had a lot of really good theoretical and, background information, background content, but I also spent a lot of time similarly on how to use the underlying system that was also part of that solution, right? Part of that knowledge giving. And that's because I really want to give you ways to take action on your learning. But what I realized is I can still do that by directing you to the appropriate template that may help you, right? Whether it's something that I'm just building now to show you guys, or something that you can just copy and duplicate from us. But the important thing that I want to give you is that, hey, what we can actually do here is give you the how in broken down small chunks depending on exactly what you need from that system, and that actually makes it a lot more seamless for you to understand what we're doing and for me to also deliver any changes that might be there. So how do I feel about this solution? Well, I feel fantastic, absolutely fantastic. This is a solution that's going to make me feel a lot better, and I don't have to worry so much about it. Okay, and then the last one, I just want to write that out and then show you what's next. So for me, again, it's very similar. Fear of creating content because we're not sure when we need to update that content again. So let's split up all the different content types. So we can say the Academy text should be easily editable and updatable. Academy videos should focus on specific how-tos for use cases, so I can change each individual video wherever necessary. Should focus on specific how-tos for use cases, short videos. Okay, and then I can understand that YouTube is not necessarily for evergreen content. People like watching new stuff, which is great. But then in general, YouTube should keep to knowledge videos. So that's something that was important. And so I realized along the way, it's like, okay, maybe I want to say 80% knowledge and then plus 20% action. So I will only describe the template with 20% of the time, because I think the most important thing is to show the information, the fundamentals behind the system. And how do I feel about this problem? I feel fantastic as well. And I can also add another sort here, which is important. I'm going to add another sort that says, how do I feel about the problem? And I can have this again be ascending. So then I'm now able to see that these are the things that I'm going to be solving. And then I feel fantastic about these, and these are the things that I still have problems. I feel okay about the solution. Maybe there's better ones later on, but again, I'm just showing you some specific examples from my day, and you can obviously replace this with any problem that you currently have as well. And the idea is that when you start waking up, you can put as many as you can, so that you're offloading all your mental burden, that all these problems that you're currently facing. How can we put that out of our minds and into a place where we can see them, break them down, and really isolate each one and have a possible solution. Now, the next step is the one that's really important for me, is that now that I know that there's solutions for each one, I'm now going to decide on which theme, right, of these stressors I'm going to decide to tackle on today. And it's already very easy for me to see, at least in just this short example, is that, hey, the moment that I realize and I have built a best practices document or some kind of a structure behind my understanding of which specific content goes where, I'm already able to solve my fear of updating information, because I know very clearly what I can do to essentially keep that under control. So that's something that's really important for me, at least, to share with you guys, is how can you control what you can control and let go of what you can't control. And in this case, what you can control is your reaction to the problems that are currently facing you. You can definitely control how you deal with problems, how you treat the underlying stressors, and most importantly here is how you can essentially isolate for the things that you need to focus on first and forget the rest. Like, it becomes very important, very easy for me when I'm looking at it like this, that I don't need to essentially worry about all the other problems currently, and I just need to tackle that one at a time and essentially feel a lot better about my day from the moment that I wake up. So I think that's really important, and I can't overemphasize, having this process to be done. Now, how can you improve this? How can we improve this database? Because it's very simple, right? Like I showed you, it's one table, right? A few drop downs, and one relation. This is, by all accounts, one of the most simple systems that you can build, right? And a system doesn't have to be complex. I just want to make that very clear. If a system is anything that can essentially help you reliably solve a problem over and over again. In this case, my problem is I have problems. Amazing. So I'm able to create a system that essentially is letting me put in my problems day in, day out, tackle them with, prioritize them, and then think of possible solutions, and also understand the underlying stressor. Amazing. Great. What else can I add to here that might be useful? And I'm just going to give you examples. I might even work through some of them, but I just want to show you what possibly you can improve about this to make this really work well in your life. Well, the first thing is dependencies, right? I've always, realized that whenever we don't want to do something, we start making up random excuses why we can't do it. And usually it comes in the form of dependencies. I can't solve this problem right now because it relates to this problem, which is predicated on that problem, which that person has a stake in, which they are slowed down the process, and therefore I can't do anything. We like to blame, others, or we like to essentially, if we don't want to do it, we'll find any way to cop out. That's just our human nature, and that's fine. That's something that we have to understand and about ourselves and acknowledge and accept. And then knowing that that's our baseline, how can we fix that? How can we create systems that help us defeat that bias? Well, one thing I really like to do is I like to connect my problems together. I like to have a problem chain, right? And let me just write it down here, and maybe I can explain it better if I just write it down here. So I had a problem, last week, and arguably many weeks before this as well, where I would be, delaying the launch of certain things, which is maybe a video, maybe a newsletter, maybe even an email. Okay, so let's say I had to send an email. So the problem is I need to send a newsletter, okay, on Monday. Okay, so that's the problem. But then I delayed it. Why did I delay it? Well, I delayed it because, the video isn't ready. The Saturday video isn't ready. Why isn't that ready? Well, the Saturday video isn't ready because the template can be improved. Okay, why does the template need to be improved? Well, the template could be improved, or how can the template be improved? Well, the template could be improved because I could add more videos, make it more streamlined, yada yada, etc. Right? But then also, that could also be improved if I had a blog. I wanted to also add an article, right? An article for the accompanying template, and then maybe I also wanted the Academy document to show how it was done, and then finally maybe I also had an email flow to explain how to use that system. So you can see already in here a very simple task for me to send out a newsletter on Monday. I ended up pushing it because the Saturday video wasn't ready, and then the Saturday video wasn't ready because the template could be improved. The template could be improved because I wanted to add more videos, make it more streamlined. And then to make it more streamlined, I could have made an article for the accompanying templates, and then I could have made an Academy document to show I was done, and then finally I could have made an email flow to how to use the system. And then maybe I didn't do that because, again, it loops back to because the template wasn't ready, or could use improvement. Like, it was so interesting to me, right, that I had that chain of thought, that kind of rationalization happening in my brain that just kept hindering me from doing things. Because the more I thought about this problem, the more I saw that it kept looming over me, the more I didn't want to do anything, right? The more that I end up slowing down, procrastinating sometimes, not being able to, effectively solve the problem, it became the bigger problem, right? So what was really helpful for me was breaking it down like this, really, calling myself out, seeing like, hey, really, do I really have to do all these things in order to send out this newsletter, right? Is this all really necessary? What about this was not necessary? Well, maybe these weren't necessary. Maybe the email flow wasn't necessary. Maybe the template, maybe the academy document wasn't necessary, right? The article maybe wasn't necessary. The video could have been, just basic, right? And explaining what we currently have. Like, I didn't need to add on so many layers of abstractions, right, in order to just essentially give myself excuses to not do anything. So what I want to do here, and again, in the spirit of adding more properties to the database to make it more helpful for you, what you could do is you can have a self relation, right? Make a relation to itself. So problems to problems database. Okay. And then what we can do is create a new property. So we want to sync both ways. Actually, no, just use the same property. Let's just use the same property. And then what we want to do is we want to have this called, so let's say let's call this one our dependencies, our perceived dependencies. And then essentially what we can do is we can also have this help us really determine what we think this is dependent on, what other problem this is dependent on, and then really realize that, hey, maybe, just maybe, it's not so dependent on these other things, and I can still go forward with my life, even if like A doesn't necessarily mean need B. And I really want to get that across because, again, like you see in this ridiculous example, right? Again, maybe I exaggerated for effect, but it's pretty close to what actually happened. Like I just realized that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I didn't need to have this problem, which ended up being the bigger problem. Actually, the underlying problem that happened there was then I felt that I wasn't consistent enough with my contents, right? And as we all know, the key to succeeding on platforms like this, on platforms like YouTube, is just being as consistent as we can. So that's something that I felt very strongly about. That's something I felt very badly about. And I realized at the end of the day, it's all because of this. And then also, of course, this ended up leaking into my other problems, which was, well, I didn't build the academy document because I felt like it was going to get outdated really quickly. And I felt bad about that, and I felt stressed about that, and like it becomes like a giant, like, a giant loop. If you ever seen that, like the snake that like bites its own tail, and then that loop, that's what it felt like to me. So let me show that in this case, right? So I feel that we are not consistent with our content delivery, and for the last few months we haven't been delivering videos and articles, so we at a consistent schedule. And then again, this was a high problem for me, a high severity problem for me, but the perceived dependencies was because I have a fear of creating content, and our template walkthroughs are getting outdated, and etc. So you can see, like, very easily that this was like, we can see the reasons behind why you're doing something. And again, the whole point is, how can we defeat as many biases as we can, as fast as we can, right? So that we can essentially be able to move forward with our lives and not get stuck at all these different things. So I had different ideas, creating content in advance, working on a video at least, for 30 minutes to an hour each day, right? Etc, etc. So, and again, this is an okay solution for me because I don't feel like that was actually, it's not even okay, it's a not good solution. I need a better solution. So I don't have even today I don't have a very, very solid answer to this, but at least I know that I need to do more research about this specific problem. And I know that I have a very irrational fear, irrational dependency perception that this is predicated on so many other things, and therefore I'm not able to go about and tackle my problems as I want to. So that's one of the upgrades that you can do. One more upgrade that I'll talk about today, and I'll leave it at that. And by the way, guys, if you have an idea of how this template can help you better, let me know, because I want to also build that as live as I can for you today. If you don't find that this is exactly fitting your needs, let me know and I'll help you create it and shape it to what will help for you, because my intention behind these live streams is to actually teach you how you can build your own systems. I think that's the best thing that anyone can do, is be able to create their own systems that can help them change their lives bit by bit, and also ensure that they're on the right path as often as possible. So the next thing I want to talk about is, for these underlying stressors, what I realized is, these dragons, if we want to again stick with the analogy, right, these dragons end up being very seasonal. I realized that when a few years ago I started documenting down all my stressors for the year, and it was really interesting for me is that whenever I start having one stressor, they usually come in pairs, not in pairs rather, but in bundles. So this one stressor would usually have many relating problems. Again, makes sense, the analogy of having mobs around the boss, around the dragon. They come with a lot of underlying problems that can all be resolved once we figure out what the underlying stressor is, right? And once we figure out the underlying stressor, when we defeat that stressor, usually it doesn't have to come back again if we defeat it properly. If we didn't push the problems to the next day, and so on, then we essentially have the ability to defeat the stressor for life, for good, right? And that's something that we definitely want. So what essentially that I'm recommending here is keep these underlying stressors very visible and very readily available on your dashboard. I think it's super important for you to actually see like, hey, these are my stressors currently, but and that's fine, because if I duplicate this severity and I call this one solutions, I actually feel pretty good about my solutions. Okay, I can say that I can connect and say, okay, well, I feel let's say show unique values. I feel okay and I feel fantastic about the solutions, and I'm currently already working on something to reduce these stressors in my life. I think it's really important for you to track your stressors, because you actually don't end up giving yourself enough credits where it's due that you are working on the things that are bothering you. Many times we just end up pushing our problems more and more, and we think that we're still doing that, right? Sometimes we think that we're still pushing a problem. We don't think that we're actually taking actions, but we have to realize that if we are intentional about making life better, if we're intentional about ensuring that we're taking progressive steps towards reducing all these mental burdens, reducing all these things that are in our minds that we're struggling with, well, that means that we have the potential to actually be able to track all the daily actions that we're taking to make life a lot better. In this case, how we can actually ensure that our problems are being worked on and essentially defeating the underlying boss at hand. So I think that's something that's really important, and I can't overemphasize like how helpful this system has been for me, at least. And again, it's very simple, right? I just make two tables, connect them. But the most important thing is that it's giving you the time well, you have to give yourself the time first to actually write down your problems, right? But it's helping you essentially filter out all the things that you actually do need to work on and the things that you do need to see. And later on, you can even add like really crazy things like filters, right? Maybe you filter out everything that's not high severity right now. You filter out everything that doesn't already have a fantastic solution, so you go and solve that first. Maybe you filter out things that only have not good solutions, so that you can write the solution down, do research, ask a friend, do whatever you can to figure out the best way to defeat these mobs, and essentially make it a lot easier for you to proceed with your day-to-day life and not be not be stressed out by all these different things. So today's live stream is just about this. Again, something that I feel very strongly about, very passionate about, and hopefully also resonated with you guys. Let me know in the comments if it was useful for you, and do try it out for at least for a week, if not more, because this will really level up your ability to think critically and defeat biases around all your problems that seem to pop up in your day-to-day life. And one thing that I also recommend you is just put all this on your dashboard. Like, really having a space on your dashboard for this is definitely the best thing that you can do. And maybe let me just show you guys where I would put it. So let me go ahead and go to my master system. So where I would put this, basically, let me just show you guys, is, let me just go to make life simple, or maybe let's go to daily planning. So I would definitely put it on your daily planning dashboard. It's part of your planning for sure. And what I might do is just putting it at the top of our page, right? We can have a toggle here that says, potential stressors today, stressors today. And essentially you can go in and you can type in all your stressors for today. You can see everything that you're stressing out with, again, all your problems. And then ideally you want to just make one action plan for each, and then you can move on for day and not have to worry about it, and essentially live life a lot better. And if you ever want to know how to add a linked view, just copy the link here, and then you can just paste the link view, link to page, create link database, and you can see all your stressors, and it becomes really, really clear for you as well. And if you really want to, by the way, I guess I'll add one more improvement for you. If you're using our systems currently, if you have something what we call our daily quest, so what you could do there, so let me just clear this and then just show you another way that you can do something. So let's say I go into my make life simple. Let me open it up. And then I want to show you, for example, morning routines. So what you could do is you can also add one more property here that is going to be a relation to your stressors, right? To your problems, my problems today. So let me just go ahead here and add a new property for that. So let's go ahead and just make a new property. Again, I'm just showing you a quick example. I'm not actually going to go through it all the way, but maybe we just say today's problems. And we can make this a relation, right? We can make this a relation property. And if we make this a relation property over to our problem database, so let's go problems. And then let's go into there, our problems database. Basically, we're then able to connect our day with the problem that we're currently facing. Again, it could be a problem that's recurring, and that's great. Now we can see that we have a recurring problem day after day. And essentially, this actually helps us then visualize the problem that we're currently facing on our dashboard. Actually, let me just show you how to do that, because I think it's getting a bit complicated. So when I make this connection, okay, what I really want you to see is that I'm able to essentially append a date to here. So I have a daily quest, okay, a daily quest that is showing me the day that I'm currently worrying about this, and I can make a new property that's going to show a roll up of this daily quest. I'm going to show the daily quest, and I want to show the wake up time, so it's going to show me the date. and I want to show a date. Let's show the latest date. Okay, so latest date was 10 hours ago, so today. And then we're going to call this the date of worry, whatever we want to call it that. Okay, so very cool stuff. And what we can do here in stress management actually is we can create a new roll up. Okay, and then we can create a new roll up. So let's go ahead and actually, we don't need to even create a new roll up. Let's just take this problem database that we have, and then let's go back to our page here. So let me go ahead and go back to my system and go to my daily planning. So let's go to daily planning, and then in daily planning, what we can show is that inside here, again, if we had something at the top to show all our different problems that we had. Oops, that's showing me a copy. That's not what I want. So what I want to do is copy the link rather. And what we can do is go here. We can paste it, a linked database here just to show everything. And what we want to do is we want to filter, right, only by the dates of worry is today. So we're only going to see the things that we're worrying about today. And I think that's actually really valuable. Because then we're able to see like, hey, these are things that we're worrying about today. We have possible solutions, right? We have perceived dependencies. Maybe that's something that we can think about, how severe this problem is. So everything that we've been talking about today, but basically seeing that in a table format at the top of our page so that we can see all our problems for the day, know that we're taking action on it. And if we're not taking right action, why aren't we taking action? And how can we take better action to make our day better? So that's it for me for now. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope that you find value in this system. I really do. My hope is that you really are able to move forward with your day and not have all these small mobs, small annoyances catch up with you, and so that you can actually focus on making life better and hopefully together with the Toy Story family. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and take care.